Hello and welcome to G Fun Facts Online, your go-to channel for diving deep into the science behind everyday phenomena. Today, we're tackling a topic that affects millions worldwide: obesity. But we're going beyond the outdated idea that it's all about willpower. We're venturing into the fascinating, intricate world of neurometabolics. Specifically, how tiny clusters of nerve cells in our brain are the master conductors of our appetite and energy balance. As obesity rates continue their upward climb, understanding these neural circuits isn't just academic. It's opening doors to brand new ways of preventing and treating this global health challenge. So where is this appetite control headquarters in our brain? Deep inside, there's a tiny but incredibly powerful region called the hypothalamus. It's only about the size of an almond, but it's packed with distinct groups of neurons that are constantly sensing our body's energy status and telling us when to eat or stop. One of the star players in the hypothalamus is the arcuate nucleus, or ARC. Think of it as a frontline sensor, because its protective blood-brain barrier is a bit more permeable, allowing it to directly detect circulating nutrients like glucose and hormones like insulin and leptin. Inside the ARC, we have two main teams of neurons with opposite jobs. First, the appetite-stimulating neurons. These guys produce neuropeptides with cool names like neuropeptide Y, NPY, and agouti-related peptide, AGRP. When you're fasting or your energy is low, these neurons fire up, making you feel hungry and boosting your food intake. A GRP even blocks signals that tell you you're full. On the other side, we have the appetite-suppressing neurons. They produce pro-opiomelanocortin, POMC, which gets converted into hormones like alpha-melanocyte-stimulating hormone, alpha-MSH, and another protein called cocaine and amphetamine-regulated transcript, or CART. When these neurons are activated, usually after a meal, they signal fullness and tell you to put the fork down. Alpha-MSH is particularly important, binding to specific receptors to curb appetite. The ARC then sends its messages to other hypothalamic areas, like the paraventricular nucleus, PVN, which further processes these signals and is also involved in energy expenditure. Then there's the lateral hypothalamus, LH, historically known as the hunger center, and the ventromedial hypothalamus, VMH, traditionally seen as the satiety center. They all play their part in this complex orchestra. But the hypothalamus isn't working solo. Other brain regions are crucial too. The brainstem, especially a part called the nucleus of the solitary tract, NTS, gets direct messages from your digestive system about stomach fullness and nutrients, relaying this info upwards. Then there's the limbic system, involving areas like the amygdala and nucleus accumbens. These are all about the pleasure and reward we get from eating, what we call hedonic feeding. Sometimes, the desire for that tasty treat can override the signals telling you you're not actually hungry. And, of course, our cerebral cortex, responsible for higher-level thinking, decision-making, and emotions, also has a say in our eating habits. What's truly mind-blowing is the specificity here. Scientists have found tiny clusters of neurons, like certain PNOCNPY cells in the hypothalamus, that, when activated, dramatically increase food intake. In one study, only about 10% of these PNOC neurons had receptors for the appetite-suppressing hormone leptin. Removing just these specific leptin receptors in mice made them eat more and gain weight. It shows how a very small, specialized group of cells can have a massive effect on our appetite. So how do these tiny clusters actually make us feel hungry or full? It's all about integrating a symphony of signals, hormones, neurotransmitters, and nutrients. Let's talk hormones. Leptin, produced by our fat tissue, is often called the satiety hormone. More fat means more leptin, which should tell the brain to reduce appetite. But in obesity, the brain can become resistant to leptin. Insulin from our pancreas responds to rising blood sugar after meals and also acts on the hypothalamus to reduce appetite. Again, insulin resistance in the brain is a problem in obesity. Then there's ghrelin, the hunger hormone, mostly from an empty stomach, which revs up those NPY-AGRP hunger neurons. Levels rise before meals and fall after. And don't forget gut peptides. After we eat, our gut releases hormones like GLP-1, PYY, and CCK, which generally signal fullness. GLP-1 is a big star right now, as drugs mimicking it are successful anti-obesity medications. Excitingly, GLP-1 isn't just from the gut, it's also made in the brain, acting as a neurotransmitter with precise local effects. Specific hypothalamic neurons, called TRH neurons, have recently been identified as critical for how these GLP-1 drugs suppress appetite. Within the brain, neurons chat using chemical messengers called neurotransmitters. We've mentioned NPY and AGRP as powerful hunger stimulants, and alpha-MSH as a key appetite suppressor. Serotonin, famous for its mood effects, also generally promotes satiety. Dopamine is crucial for the brain's reward system, influencing our motivation to seek out yummy, often high-fat, high-sugar foods. Obesity might actually rewire these dopamine circuits. And GABA, an inhibitory neurotransmitter, plays a role too. For instance, AGRP neurons release GABA to dampen down satiety signals. Plus, the brain, especially the hypothalamus, can directly sense nutrients like glucose and fatty acids in our blood, adding another layer to food intake regulation. This brings us to the gut-brain axis, a super important two-way communication highway. It involves nerves like the vagus nerve, hormonal signals, and even immune system chatter. And guess who's a major player in this? Our gut microbiota, trillions of microorganisms in our digestive tract. The type of bacteria in our gut can influence how we metabolize nutrients, produce neuroactive compounds that affect brain and appetite, control gut hormone secretion, and even affect systemic inflammation, which can mess with brain sensitivity to metabolic signals. An imbalance in these gut bacteria, called dysbiosis, is linked to obesity, partly through its effects on this gut-brain communication. So when does this intricate control system go awry, leading to obesity? Obesity is fundamentally about chronic energy imbalance, taking in more energy than we expend. Dysregulation of the brain's appetite control is a major reason why. Hormone resistance is a big one. In many people with obesity, the brain doesn't hear satiety signals from leptin and insulin properly. Even short-term consumption of highly processed foods can quickly cause these changes in brain insulin sensitivity. Neural circuitry can also be altered. Studies show structural and functional differences in appetite-regulating brain regions in individuals with obesity. Chronic high-fat diets can cause inflammation in the hypothalamus, contributing to these changes. Then there's the hedonic override. In our modern environment full of super palatable, energy-dense foods, the brain's reward pathways can get overstimulated, making us eat for pleasure even when we're not physically hungry. Paradoxically, some research suggests people with obesity might experience tumless pleasure from eating, potentially due to changes in brain chemistry, driving overconsumption to chase that reward. Genetic predispositions and chronic low-grade inflammation also play significant roles. But here's the exciting part. This growing understanding of neurometabolics is paving the way for truly innovative strategies to combat obesity by directly targeting these brain control centers. We've already mentioned GLP-1 receptor agonists like semaglutide, which mimic the gut hormone GLP-1 and have shown incredible success by suppressing appetite, partly by acting on specific brain receptors and neurons like those TRH neurons. Scientists are also working on targeting even more specific neuronal populations, those high-impact cells, for more precise appetite control with fewer side effects. New receptors are still being discovered, like the GPR17 receptor on AGRP neurons, which could be a new drug target. Strategies to favorably alter the gut microbiota, reduce brain inflammation, and even develop novel drug delivery systems like exosomes to get treatments directly to the brain are all being explored. Advanced neuroimaging and mapping projects like HypoMap are giving us incredibly detailed atlases of the human hypothalamus, helping to identify new genes, understand brain differences, and pinpoint new therapy targets. Of course, there are challenges. The brain's appetite system is incredibly complex and has backup systems. What works in animal models doesn't always translate perfectly to humans, and people respond differently to treatments. Future research will continue to dissect these neural circuits, understand how they're altered in obesity, and develop personalized treatments. Combination therapies targeting multiple pathways, and even non-pharmacological interventions like specific dietary strategies or behavioral therapies that can positively influence brain appetite control are all on the horizon. For instance, there's ongoing research into how artificial sweeteners might confuse the brain's hunger signals by providing sweetness without calories. In conclusion, our journey into the brain's tiny appetite control clusters is truly revolutionizing how we see obesity. It's not a simple lack of willpower, it's deeply rooted in our neurobiology. By deciphering the complex language of these neurometabolic systems, scientists are not only understanding why obesity develops, but are also forging a path towards more effective, targeted, and personalized therapies. Exploring these tiny appetites within our brains holds immense promise for tackling one of the most significant global health challenges of our time. Thanks for tuning in to Fun Facts Online. We hope you found this dive into the brain and appetite as fascinating as we do. Join us next time for more science adventures.